Hello, and welcome to Zap the Gender Pay Gap, the podcast series where we expose the elephant in the room. The elephant's name, the gender pay gap. I am coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee, located on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River. Nestled in the southwest corner of the state, Memphis is home to the blues, barbecue, and so much more. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Thank you so very much for joining me for this episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. I created this podcast series to do three things: to expose the elephant in the room, to make it visible by uncovering it, and to reveal its true nature. Two, to disclose some pertinent facts about this elephant that may have previously been unknown to you or kept secret. And then three, to determine how do we dispose of the effect of this elephant in the room. Now, March is Women's History Month, and for the entire month of March, I will spotlight women who have been and continue to be fierce advocates for closing the gender pay gap. They have exposed the elephant in the room, they have spoken truth to power, and are showing women how to advocate for themselves. These women are history makers, they are game changers, and they are difference makers. These women have forged a path to close the gender pay gap. One such history maker is Dr. Evelyn Murphy. I was first introduced to Dr. Murphy by Christopher Brennan, who I met on LinkedIn. He also works with MIT Sloan School of Management. And after reading one of my posts on zapping the gender pay gap, Christopher reached out to me and shared some information. And he said, I thought this information and contact might interest you in terms of your gender pay gap. He went on to tell me that in Massachusetts state government, he worked under Dr. Murphy when she was State Secretary of Economic Affairs. He indicated that she is well respected and a good advocate. So this piqued my interest. I just had to find out more about Dr. Murphy, and I was so impressed by what I discovered. According to her bio, Dr. Evelyn Murphy is an American businesswoman and politician who was the 67th Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts from 1987 to 1991, and she was also the first woman in the history of the state to hold a constitutional office. Dr. Murphy is an economist and founder and president of The Wage Project. And The Wage Project is a nationwide grassroots activist organization dedicated to eliminating the gender wage gap. She is author of Getting Even: Why Women Don't Get Paid Like Men and What to Do About It. And she is also the co-chair of the Boston Women's Workforce Council. Dr. Murphy conducts Work Smart salary negotiation workshops for working women throughout the United States. And in addition, she facilitates Start Smart workshops on campuses for young women about to start their careers. If you will recall on a previous episode, I shared right here that women out of college encounter a wage gap. They earn less than their male counterparts. So these workshops to show women who are starting their careers how to start smart will be very valuable to working women who are starting their careers. In addition to all that I've mentioned before, Dr. Murphy is the recipient of 11 honorary degrees, over 100 awards from federal, state, and community organizations. And get this, in her spare time, she has run the Boston Marathon many times, and she can be seen in the bleachers cheering for the Boston Red Sox. How cool is that? So very worthy of honor for her work, especially in zapping the gender pay gap. Now, in her book, Getting Even: Why Women Don't Get Paid Like Men and What to Do About It, her book was published in 2005, and she stated that in the 21st century, the gender wage gap still affects the daily life of women throughout the country. And you would think that it's only women who are at lower levels within the organization, but she indicated that it affects women at every economic level, from cashier to CEO. And she asked a rhetorical question: is it fair? And resoundingly, the answer is no. But another question is, can it be stopped? And she says, absolutely. In her book, Dr. Murphy examines how much women and their families lose over time to the wage gap. And at that time, a woman will lose between $700,000 and $2 million in her lifetime. That's how much a woman could lose over a lifetime to the wage gap. Now, in a previous episode, I shared extensively about how this elephant in the room manages to stick its trunk into a woman's payday and take out a big chunk of her pay. This elephant, whose name is the gender pay gap, manages to affect and infect a woman's overall financial well-being. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, according to the American Association of University Women, not only does it affect a woman's annual earnings, the pay gap also contributes to a woman's wealth gap, because it makes it difficult for women to amass savings, to build wealth, and achieve economic security. And the pay gap even follows women into retirement. And because as a result of lower lifetime earnings, women receive less in Social Security as well as in pensions. And so in terms of overall retirement income, women have only 72% of what men have saved for retirement. Now, Dr. Murphy not only discusses how much women and their families lose over a lifetime to the wage gap, but she also knocks down the myth that women choose to make less. Imagine that someone would believe that women would choose to make less. And then thirdly, she documents the widespread discrimination that's holding down women's pay. Now, it is true that there's some very bad news here, but it doesn't stop there. Dr. Murphy reminds us that amidst the bad news, that there's some good news. Know what it is? The good news is that the wage gap can be closed. What if, one by one, women in the workplace could zap their gender pay gap? What if, one by one, women could increase their take-home pay? And what if, one by one, women could have more month than money? What if that woman could be you? What if you could be a rainmaker, impacting your earnings not only now, but well into your future? So what will it take for you to become a rainmaker? Going after your fortune requires taking calculated risk, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. I say that going after your fortune requires three things, which I refer to it as F to the third power. First, it takes faith that it's worth it, but more importantly, that you're worth it. Number two is fortitude. It requires a certain fearlessness and fierceness to go after that which is yours. And then, of course, facts, data and evidence to back up your case, because feeling something is due you and backing it up with facts are two different things. So going after your fortune and to be a rainmaker will take confidence, courage, and a level of certainty that this is worth it and you're worth it as well. It will require you taking a step outside of your comfort zone. What if we had more women like Dr. Murphy who are advocating for equal pay for equal work? Women who are on a mission to zap the gender pay gap, showing women how to increase their take-home pay. I desire to be a history maker. How cool would it be to make a positive difference in women's lives, impacting their earnings both now and well into their futures, and not only their lives, but the lives of their families as well? It is so appealing to me because my mission in life is to leave each person in place better than I found them. And I figure I can do that by showing women in the workplace how to close their gender pay gap. Will you be one? If you haven't done so already, please download my ebook, Underpaid, the #1 challenge women face in the corporate workplace. In it, I show you how to not only find out if you're caught in the gender pay gap, but also how to get out. Just click the link in the description below, and Underpaid will be on its way to your inbox. Thank you so very much again for joining me today. I look forward to you joining me next time as we continue to celebrate women like Dr. Evelyn Murphy. On next Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time, on the next episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap, we will celebrate women from history who are paving the way for equal pay.